Bradley Manning. His name has some singing his praises and others cursing his actions. The 25-year-old has been accused of passing more than 700,000 government and military files to WikiLeaks, the largest leak in classified documents in U.S. history. He has been called a hero by some, and by others, he's called a traitor.
Private First Class Bradley Manning faces a possible life sentence without parole for information leaks. The 25-year-old faces 21 counts, including the most serious one of aiding the enemy. He will also undergo prosecution under the Espionage Act of 1917. Manning, an intelligence analyst, was arrested in May 2010 while serving in Iraq. He was charged with downloading intelligence documents, diplomatic cables, and combat videos. He then forwarded them to WikiLeaks, an anti-secrecy website. The court-martial at Fort Meade, Maryland, is expected to run until at least late August. Demonstrators gathered to show support for Manning.
Bradley Manning did a very courageous thing. He told the American people and the world about what was going on in Afghanistan and that it was a just war and that we were helping the Afghan people and a bunch of other misdeeds that the U.S. was doing, and I think that was a service to the country.
The soldier pleaded guilty in court in February to 10 lesser charges. He said he had released the files to spark a domestic debate on the military and on foreign policy. The judge said she would close parts of the trial to the public to protect classified material.
Hero or traitor? That is the question. Now, to discuss this issue further, Dee Dee Benkie and Jackie Guzda continue to share their opinions, and we also welcome via Skype Nathan Fuller. Nathan, thanks for joining us.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
All right, first we want to find out where you guys all stand. Traitor or hero? We're going to start with you, Dee Dee.
How about the most disgusting traitor since Benedict Arnold? This is awful. And plus, he was serving our country as a soldier. Are you kidding me? And then he does this. Terrible traitor. He should go to Gitmo.
Okay, Jackie?
Ooh la la. I think that in order to do what Bradley Manning did, you either have to be naive and young enough or old enough not to care. I think he's a hero. I think kind of a non-committal hero, but he did what his heart told him to do.
Okay, Nathan, we're going to have you weigh in on this. Tell us what you think, traitor or hero?
Well, I don't think we necessarily need the dichotomy. I think he's someone who cared a lot about his country and did what he thought was best to help end an unjust war and to inform us about what our government was doing in secret and with our tax dollars.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. We're going to continue our discussions with you. Now, some folks are saying how the issue isn't just a hero or traitor. The issue is more about how this kid, if you will, had access to these kinds of files, and that is the real scandal. How did a kid from Crescent, Oklahoma come into contact with these kind of files? Is that the real issue? Jackie?
I don't think so. I think that he was doing his job. This is where he was placed. And he took his own initiative to show the world what was really going on.
You don't do that as a private, though. I mean, that's the military. It's supposed to be rank and file. For him to do that on his own, and I think what's really bad is that he was able to, but he was an intelligence officer, and he was trusted, he took an oath to serve his country, and look what he did. He's a traitor.
No, he was a whistleblower.
Yeah.
He was a whistleblower.
Against his own country. Gave information to Al-Qaeda, got information to Osama bin Laden.
He didn't bring it to Osama bin Laden.
No, he gave it to WikiLeaks, and it got to Osama bin Laden
on
his
computer. He gave it to WikiLeaks.
We found that information on Osama bin Laden's computer.
And Osama bin Laden had to go to his computer and read WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
He did not just give it to the enemy.
But knowing that it would get in enemy hands, it's in the public. The enemy is going to get it, and
look,
that's
Daniel
treason.
Ellsberg did it and helped end the Vietnam War. Deep Throat did it and talked to the Washington
That
Post.
has nothing to do with this. Zero.
It's the same thing.
Not even close. What are you
It's the
talking
same
about?
thing.
This is you know, that's a great history lesson. It has nothing to do with this, because this is someone who is in the army, supposed to protect the American people, and it was the biggest dump of intelligence.
He's protecting.
Okay, let's get Nathan over here.
Senseless war.
Oh my God.
Nathan, a kid from Crescent, Oklahoma. How did he get access to these files? And does the Army have to increase their security now? Is that what the issue is?
I don't think it's the main issue by far. More than 1 million people have access to the documents that he had, and which is important to note, he did not leak any top secret information. As an intel analyst in Iraq, he knew very well exactly what these documents would do if made public. And they did not bring any harm to the U.S., as some claim and as the government would like to prove, but has yet to show any evidence for. It's been 3 years since they've released, and we've only really seen benefits. In fact, the government wants to preclude discussion of damage or lack thereof from the courtroom because, as defense lawyer David Coombs says, these damage assessments show little to no harm at all. And in fact, Defense Secretary Robert Gates said no sources or methods were released. And as an intel analyst, Bradley knew very well that would be the case. Instead, they're just simply informing us about what this Iraq and Afghanistan wars really are.
Let's talk about those 3 years that you mentioned there, Nathan. Why has this court-martial been delayed for 3 years?
Because the government or the military has no regard for Bradley's Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. He's supposed to be arraigned in 120 days, and it took the military 635. And it's important to remember that 1 year of that was in solitary confinement. And so it certainly seems to benefit the government to allow him to just wait for a trial. And 3 years is far too long.
Well, Nathan, you can't see us here, but Dee Dee here is shaking her head at that
Well,
one.
you kind of lose your rights whenever you commit treason, and you're an enemy of the state.
Treason.
Yeah, it was.
Nathan just said.
I don't care what Nathan said. He's wrong.
Oh, he's our guest.
Well, that's fine, but it doesn't mean he's right. I disagree with him.
He's
Sorry.
right in the fact that none of these documents.
You don't know that.
None
You know
of
what?
these
They talked about-
documents that Manning brought to light were classified.
Let's
And
talk
that-
about some of the documents. If we can, you were going to mention some of the ones with the helicopter. Talk to me about some of the documents
Sure.
that he released.
Sure, you can go on YouTube and see this video. This video was about 2 Apache helicopter pilots who shot dead a Reuters reporter and his driver and played it like a video game, watching them scramble. And there were 2 little kids in a van right there. And the helicopter pilots laughed and said, this is what they get for bringing their kids to a war zone.
And let's just substantiate that with some facts. This happened in Baghdad in 2007, and it did in fact show a helicopter gunning down a group of civilians, and it was actually 2 Reuters reporters.
Oh, sorry.
So some of the things he also says, he discovered 66,000 civilian deaths in Iraq.
Okay, there are different death numbers when it comes to Iraq. At the bottom number, after all was said and done, it was 174,000. Up to over 1 million. CBS News at the time was saying about 50,000, and that's why everybody believed that number.
Dee Dee?
Well, if you're a private and you're serving your country, I don't care if you're giving up the lunch schedule of the general that you work with. You're not supposed to do it. You're giving up information that he's supposed to keep to himself and not put on WikiLeaks. So, it's just treason. And I'm glad that he's still there. And I think that he should go to jail for life.
All those
Manning?
I'm sorry, all those people that you said was in my history lesson, Daniel Ellsberg, Frank Serpico, Karen Silkwood, should they have been prosecuted for giving up secrets that helped make this world better by bringing transparency to what was going on? That was wrong.
Again, I love your history lesson, but this guy was in the Army. He's an intelligence officer. You don't hand over anything.
Nothing goes wrong in the Army. As
you
we
don't
said,
hand
nothing
over,
was
or
classified.
maybe give it within, but you don't put it on the internet, for
You know
God's
what?
sake.
All right,
Okay.
listen.
Okay, hey, wait, let's go back to Nathan for 2 seconds. All right, now Manning did make his first public statement. I believe that these cables would not damage the United States, Manning said. However, I believe these cables would be embarrassing. Is this going to hurt or help him in court? And we turn that to you now, Nathan.
I think that it's going to help him, and I hope it does, because a key question in this court-martial is going to be whether Bradley knew or had reason to believe that giving documents to WikiLeaks would mean giving it to Al-Qaeda. But when asked by the judge if the prosecutors would try him the same way if he gave it to the New York Times, they said yes. And that is essentially, it's a pretty dangerous precedent to set. It essentially criminalizes whistleblowing, and it puts a chilling effect on others who would reveal crimes. And I think it's important to note that Bradley did try to go up his chain of command to report these abuses. He saw Baghdad federal police detaining dissidents for simply rather innocuous literature. He knew they would be tortured or killed, and he said that wasn't something he could be complicit in. So he went to his supervisors, he informed them about this, and they told him to shut up. They said, keep quiet, and in fact, go get more detainees. And if you're going to be complicit in those abuses and you can't abide by it, you have to seek alternate means.
Well, I do want to talk about why he did it, okay? And there's been all sorts of things written. Did he do it for fame? Is he a troubled man? Or was it a sense of honor? I think I know where you stand, Nathan, but we'll ask you that question again.
I don't know. Yeah, why not take him at his word? He's not getting fame. He's getting a potential life sentence. You know, if your name's in the newspaper, it's not that isn't worth that much if you're going to be in a cage for the rest of your life. He could have, as he said in chat logs, could have sold these documents to Russia or China for big profit. He could have just sent them to the New York Times right away and been famous that way. But what he wanted to do was inform the American people about these wars and what was really going on.
Okay, Dee Dee, Jackie, I want you to weigh in on this as well. Why did he do it? A lot of different opinions on this. Fame. He's been told, a couple of different reports say that he's a somewhat of a troubled man. Or did he do this out of a sense of honor?
Well, I certainly don't think there's any honor in trying to embarrass your country and the military. And, you know, again, he's in the military. It's a different standard. And no one should want to do this. But he had intelligence information, an intelligence officer, and he gave it up for the world to see. That was, you know, so he's going to get, I think, his just reward, which will be life in prison.
Why don't we deserve to know what our government does in Iraq and Afghanistan? Why
He's
don't we
a soldier.
deserve to know about 15,000 previously uncounted
He's a
civilian
soldier.
casualties in Iraq?
He is supposed to protect our country, not give up information about
And just
it,
follow
about
orders
the
blindly
operations.
and just, you know, keep abuses and atrocities secret.
Oh, wow, he's a soldier. He's supposed to do what he's told to do, and you know what, he didn't. That's why he's going to go to jail for life.
Okay.
You know, on the back of his dog tags, he had the word humanist etched on it. Let's take a little bit of a
How about
look
patriotic? That'd be
at
good.
this kid. He's being extremely
No,
patriotic
he's
in
not.
my view. Look, the inciting incident that got him into this mindset was that he was with his unit and somebody was killed. They thought one of their friends was killed ahead of them, so all of his unit was very upset. They found out it wasn't the soldier who was killed, it was a civilian who was killed, and he noticed that the rest of his friends were not shedding a
That's
tear.
war. It's collateral damage. That's what happens. It's war. It's not a tea party. It's war.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's
we
what
can-
happens.
It's war.
And if
What
he wanted
were
to
we
do the
doing
honorable
over there
thing,
in
he
the
would have got.
first
If he
place?
wanted to do the honorable thing, he would have gotten out of the military and says, you know what, I'm out of this for now, because and he still would have been in trouble, but at least he would have gotten
had a
out.
chance to make things right. That war
But
was
instead,
wrong.
he secretly did it, and then he put it on the internet as an intelligence officer of the United States
Well,
Army.
you know what? Julian Assange, who we just saw on the tape, was given that information.
By him.
Assange went to the Pentagon and said, do you want to look at this material before we let it out? The Pentagon said, no, it's not going to hurt anybody.
Well, ladies, we're going to have a lot of time to talk about this. This is, of course, a 12-week trial. He's facing 22 counts, so we're going to be watching, and the whole U.S. is going to be watching this one. So thank you very much for joining us. Nathan Fuller, we also want to thank you for joining us out there. So thank you for being a guest here on Fresh Outlook. Dee Dee, Jackie, don't go away, and don't you go away, folks. We have some Broadway trivia for you when we return. We'll be taking a look at the Tony Awards and answer this question: who are the Tony Awards named after?